Hello and welcome to another episode of Innovator Interviews on Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear podcast. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. We are really pleased to be joined today by Wayne Sentman, who is the Director of Conservation Travel Programs at the Oceanic Society, Pantone, which selected its 2019 Color of the Year, Living Coral, to promote the awareness of the beauty and wonder of our coral reefs around the world, but also the threat that they face. And by selecting the color, they hope to make designers aware of and to use this beautiful, vibrant, sort of reddish, pinkish color to express excitement and joy in designs around the world. And it's a way for the color and design community to support the ocean community. Wayne, how's it feel to have the coral that you love featured in design around the world in this year?
It's pretty amazing to see that that's the color selection this year, and the opportunity that it might offer us all to think a little bit about the natural world as we kind of look at colors in fashion and film and other uses in places where we don't necessarily associate that with the natural world.
And tell us about the color. You've seen it in person, underwater as you led tours around the world. Can you describe the color? I mean, for a lot of folks, they might just think it's a little like Dory in Finding Nemo, the color. But how would you describe it based on having been there and seen the living coral with your own eyes?
Yeah, so it is interesting because if I think of living coral, I actually think of kind of a kaleidoscope of colors. But that kind of orange reddish hue is definitely one of the predominant colors. And so when I think about it, it just kind of reminds me of some of the more vibrant coral reefs that we see in the Indo-Pacific and in places like Indonesia and Raja Ampat in the Coral Triangle, where it's just this proliferation of life underwater. Beauty and color everywhere you look. And I'd say that the kind of the backdrop is this what I was about to describe as coral color, but that kind of pinkish orange hue that is predominant throughout there. So when I really think about it just in simple terms, it reminds me of life, because the alternative is a bleached white coral reef with no life.
And let's talk a little about that. How much are you seeing that as you travel? I mean, you lead trips around the world for folks who are doing conservation trips, seeking to understand their world or to make a contribution in the region that you're visiting. How much of the coral that you have lived with for the last 50 years is bleached and dying?
I think that's a great question, because we're lucky enough to go to all these different places in the world, and we kind of self-select for the places that have the most beautiful and luscious coral reefs. But I can definitely say that one of the things that I've noticed from, let's say, the first time I jumped in a coral reef in Belize in 1987 to maybe being there last year, is that the amount of live coral that you see, the diversity of the fish that you see, that all has changed. And, I always hate it when people, when we go someplace and people say, oh, you should have seen this 20 years ago. But, as I've gotten older, I've had to appreciate that many of the places we go do look very different today than they did 30 years ago. While that is true, there definitely are these kind of hope spots, as Sylvia Earle likes to call them, that are really vibrant, beautiful places that we can, take some stock in and remind us of what really healthy areas look like.
Now, the Oceanic Society is hoping to take the Pantone selection and use it to make people aware of their opportunities to make changes, to define strategies for making changes as a society, and to really spread the word about the endangered coral environment. Talk a little about how the Oceanic Society is going to leverage its selection or the selection of Pantone's living coral color in your own efforts over the course of the next year, which, by the way, is your 50th anniversary.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We've managed to survive 50 years, and we're founded when people were first seeing the Earth from the moon, and really concerned about whales and oil spills. So some of the problems we're still talking about today. So for us, it's an opportunity to talk about something we love, which is the health of the ocean. And then as we move into the next 50 years of our existence, one of the things we've noticed is that, over the last 50 years, we've tried to create awareness. We've taken people out to nature. We connect them to these beautiful coral reefs and different areas. But awareness doesn't always seem to be enough. So we've really focused on something we're calling blue habits. Maybe we should change it to living coral habits, but blue habits that we really want people to start to adopt sort of pro-ocean behaviors in their life and create a lifestyle around the way that they integrate other components of their life so that they're protecting an environment that they care and feel a connection to. So this presents us with an opportunity to talk about things like coral-safe sunscreens, the type of fish you eat. When you go to these places, your behaviors in those places can greatly impact both what's happening on the reef. It's also an opportunity to exchange ideas with people that are living there and actually doing the conservation on the ground in the areas that we don't always, that aren't necessarily our backyard. And it also reminds us that we do have our own backyard, and we should, take care of our own coral reefs as well in the Florida Keys, out in Hawaii, and the Papahanaumokuakea Marine Reserve. These areas that we do control the fate of, also we have an opportunity to protect and put pressure on to make the right choices about conservation.
So there were a number of sunscreen victories this year, most notably Hawaii banned sunscreen that would damage the coral. Are you encouraged by that awareness, and do you see that growing globally?
Yes, I'm very encouraged. It's also something that's really, the other part of it that encourages me is that a lot of our clients are asking me about it. So that means that the awareness of states of Hawaii who are, they're already on the front line for coral reef conservation. One of the reasons that their state adopted it so readily and before anybody else might have been aware of it. But those, again, create these great opportunities for other people who may not have been aware to become aware. And so, it gives me great hope. We have a lot more information up about what are considered coral-safe sunscreens at this point. And then also, like I said, the clients that are taking our trips are much more aware and actually, going out and buying these coral-safe sunscreens before they come on trips. And it's pretty exciting to see. And it just shows you how quickly one behavior shift can kind of change people's attitudes as well. This is almost less than a year, and we rarely now have someone that doesn't ask the question about, where can I get coral-safe sunscreens? What are coral-safe sunscreens, and so on. And you're really hitting on the importance of the Pantone selection there. The fact that that designers can put this into the environment so people are aware of the color and what it represents. It is possible to make changes like you're talking about over the course of just a few years rather than decades as we slowly adopt to recognizing new threats from the technology we use. Now, let's talk a little more about the Oceanic Society itself. And it was founded in 1969. You lead the conservation travel projects that the organization does. What is the day-to-day impact of the Oceanic Society? And let's talk about what people can support and do themselves as part of the organization or working with the organization. Yeah, sure. Great. So, we're, as you said, 50 years old, starting in January 2019. And there are a lot of different ways people can interact and become part of our Oceanic Society, as we like to call it. But Primarily, the way people learn about us is either through our local whale watch programs in the San Francisco Bay Area that we've been running since 1972, or through our international expeditions, which is the area that I focus most of my time on. We run about 40 to 45 trips a year, primarily in marine areas, but we also have, the more traditional safaris and trips to the Pantone and Guyana rainforest. We visit about 15 to 20 different countries in those expeditions. So that's usually the first way people meet us. They come out on those trips. Some of the trips are service projects, so you get to work with researchers in the field. And that's also another way for people that maybe have traveled someplace as a tourist and want to go back and, maybe have a hands-on impact to conservation. We also have a Blue Habits program, which is trying to get people to live their life in a more ocean-friendly manner. We have adoption programs for, where you can even name whales, dolphins, and I used to live out on Midway Atoll, so plastic pollution is a kind of a pet project of mine, and we have an albatross adoption program, which directly benefits the islands in the North Pacific of Hawaii, Northwest Hawaiian Islands, that where these breeding sites are for the albatross. We have a sea turtle program called SWAT, State of the World Sea Turtles. So if you're not into seabirds, but you're into sea turtles, we definitely have a area there where we do a lot of work and basically connect individual research projects into a global database where we can help people decide what the best conservation priorities are for marine turtles.
In particular, and we've covered this a lot on Earth911, the plastic pollution problem in the oceans is just startling. And when you see it on the beach, let alone go out and look at the garbage patch, it can be pretty discouraging. Do you see progress happening with regard to plastics in the ocean at this point?
Yeah, I like I said, this is definitely an area that is one that I follow closely, and I was just in this last March. There was a 6th International Marine Debris conference in San Diego, and I was both presenting there and attending. And I guess what I see is both heartening but also disturbing. The area of microplastics has really taken off. And so that was a big focus of this last international conference, more so than the one previous to it. And so in that realm, we see that there's much more being discovered about how microplastics are showing up in our food chain, in our things like salt and the water we drink, the beer that we drink that has water in it. It presents bigger challenges. But I think the other thing that I've been heartened by is that I also see much more awareness, people looking, discovering that recycling isn't always the answer, really trying to reduce the source of plastic, single-use plastic getting into our oceans and into our waste stream, and also holding companies more accountable to both. One of the things that was really impressive I was also at our Oceans conference in Bali, was that I did see corporations coming to the table and saying, okay, we understand there's a problem, but in order for us to change, I produce this one product and I make 1 million bottles a year. So I'm open to the idea of switching to a different product, but in order for me to do so, I've got to be able to produce those 1 million bottles a year, and have them withstand whatever they need to withstand. And so the retooling of industry to use different compounds away from virgin plastic was also, that they're actually making the investments to do this, trying to do research to, are there seaweed compounds? Are there other compounds that could be used that might reduce the overall amount of single-use plastic that we currently use for packaging and things like that. So while it's challenging because no matter where we travel in the world, we see plastic in the ocean, there are many projects all over the world that are focused on combating it. and trying to reduce it from ever reaching the ocean in the first place. And that's, that's what's heartening, is people always say, well, what's being done? And there is a great community of organizations from all different nations, people like you and me that are trying to do something about it. So while it's ubiquitous and frustrating, you have to, join that community and keep working and plugging away at it. And there is differences being made every day across the world.
It's encouraging to hear you say that, since you're out there doing it. Sometimes sitting here, you wonder whether or not it really works. But what you're saying is you are seeing a difference out there. And the Pantone selection is another example of a way that we're going to make people aware of this phenomenon that we could lose, and the experience of being there. Now, you are leading travel all year long. Tell us about where you're going to be going in 2019, and how can people come along?
Yeah, great. Well, for me, some of the best places in the world are, in terms of seeing, that healthy, beautiful, living coral color, are definitely in the Coral Triangle, the kind of most biodiverse area for tropical coral reefs. And we've actually expanded our trips to that area, especially in a place called Raja Ampat, which is kind of the Indonesian side of Papua New Guinea, called Papua. And so we have a lot of new programs there, both small group travel for 10 people or less, and then larger groups of about 16 to 18 people. And they're full-on snorkeling programs. We do see marine mammals. A couple of them have parts of the day that focus on looking for whales and dolphins and other animals. But they're 4 to 6 hours a day in the water looking at that coral and learning about fish identification, learning about the different conservation issues around conserving these areas. And also something that I think is really interesting when you kind of like you said, when we, I spend a lot of my time, even though I'm lucky and get to travel, I spend a lot of my time at my computer organizing things. And I live in Boston, so it's not the most tropical coral reef friendly area. And so it's important to get out and connect to other people and see what people are doing around the world, see what different challenges they have. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, we need to protect this and nobody should be allowed to do X there. But when you live there and your livelihood depends on that, you have to come up with better solutions. And that's, I think that's what's important about the travel part, is it not only does it connect you to the nature and remind you why it's important to conserve it, but it connects you to the people that will need to do the conservation and reminds you that you have to solve a lot of other problems in order to get the conservation done. And that's, again, another area where I do see improvement. We've started a lot of programs that are collaborative expeditions where we work with other nonprofits and bring them in so that we can, have a united message and also use resources that independently we may not have. We just did a really great program in Palau with Mission Blue and Sylvia Earle, and had a great expedition out there and really, again, saw the beauty of Palau, but also we're able to talk about plastic pollution with youth groups in Palau that are working to solve the problem, both within their political system, but also with hands-on beach cleanups.
That's so important, the idea of all of us connecting. And prior to the recording, you and I were joking about how living coral could send a positive message through the morass of social media. But really, it's about people making interacting to make the intellectual connections that are going to allow us to find our way through this crisis that we're in. So it's fantastic to see the Oceanic Society doing this to raise awareness. And certainly now, folks, you can go to oceanicsociety.org, and that's a great place to start. But check out the featured expeditions, and the one that I particularly like is adopting a humpback whale. I think that's a great way for you to reach out and touch something without having necessarily to travel to see it. So, Wayne, any last thoughts on what we should be thinking about and doing in 2019 to protect the oceans?
Yeah, I mean, I think like anything we do, we really need to look at all the things that we do in our life, whether it's how much we drive our car, how much red meat we eat, what kind of sunscreens we use, trying to bring our personal values more in line all across our lifestyle. And one of the things that I think is really fun about the idea of Blue Habits is it's I'm not trying to give people a list of here are the 20 things you need to do to make a difference in the world.
Sure.
But it's more about us creating a lifestyle that people want to be part of. So if you care about the oceans, if you care about coral reefs, if you want to wear the living coral color and have a bigger significance, then trying to figure out ways in your own life that you can make a difference is much more valuable. And then trying to educate those around you who listen to you. I'm lucky. I get people trapped on a boat with me for 10 or 12 days. So I have a captive audience, which I can try to corral into believing the things that I do. But in your own life, you maybe have friends that listen to you, or you might be a teacher at a school, so you have opportunities in your workplace to make decisions that can affect a larger scale than just you individually. But it's the awareness and the action that will really make a difference. And so I'd say going forward as we keep hearing about all the challenges of global warming and climate change and overfishing and environmental degradation, the way we can fight against that and make a difference is to try to make our habits, our lifestyle, reflect our values about caring for the environment.
Well, thanks, Wayne, very much. Wayne Sentman is the Director of Conservation Travel Programs at the Oceanic Society. We thank you for joining us on the show today. And everybody, go check out Pantone's Living Coral. Do a search on it. It is an astonishingly beautiful color. And let's use this to make everyone aware for 2019 of the peril of the seas, but also the opportunity that Wayne was talking about. Thanks very much again, Wayne, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was great to talk with you, and really exciting that this color choice, leads us to have these discussions. I think that's the amazing thing about it all. So thanks very much.
So true, so true. So, folks, we'll be back with another Innovator interview on Earth 911's podcast soon. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. Stay tuned.